The great arena of Valor Prime was filled with noise. Thousands of alien nobles and soldiers gathered under the burning twin suns. The air was heavy with dust and heat. At the center of the arena stood the champion of Lady Zyra, tall and covered in dark armor. His weapon was a massive cleaver, sharp enough to cut stone like butter. The crowd cheered his name, believing no one could stand against him. Across from him walked the human. He had no armor, only a plain jacket and boots. No weapon in his hands, no shield to protect him. He looked too small, too weak, too ordinary compared to the alien giant. The nobles laughed, calling him a fool. Some shouted that the fight would end in one strike. Lady Zyra herself sat high in the stands, proud and confident. Her champion had never lost, and his victory would humiliate the strange off-worlder. But the human did not smile. His eyes were sharp, cold, and focused. He moved with slow steps, calm as if he had done this 1,000 times before. The arena drums began to beat, deep and loud, shaking the ground. The fight was about to begin. Suspense filled the air, everyone waiting for the first move. The champion roared and charged forward. Its steps shook the arena floor, dust rising round his massive frame. He swung his cleaver with the strength of a falling mountain. The air cracked from the force of the strike. The crowd leaned forward, certain the human would be crushed. But the human moved, his body blurred, faster than the eyes of the crowd could follow. The sound of steel against flesh echoed across the arena. In one clean, perfect motion, the champion was split from shoulder to hip. The cleaver slipped from his hands as his body fell into halves. Silence struck the arena like thunder. The impossible had happened. Lady Zyra's eyes widened, her proud face frozen in shock. Her champion, her strongest warrior, was gone. In a single heartbeat, gasps filled the crowd. Some screamed, others whispered in fear. The nobles who had laughed now sat pale and speechless. The human wiped his blade on the fallen champion's cloak, though no one had even seen him draw it. Then he looked up at the stands, straight at Lady Zyra. The message was clear. He had claimed victory, and by law, she was his prize. The ancient Loth overseer of the arena rose, his voice carried by ancient speakers. By the law of conquest, he declared, the household of the defeated belongs to the victor. The words were final, unbreakable, older than the empire itself. Lady Zyra's face turned pale, her pride trembling inside her. She could not challenge the law, no matter how much she hated it. Her maids lowered their heads in shame, for they too were now bound to the human. The human did not gloat. He simply nodded once, as if this was nothing strange. The overseer pointed to Lady Zyra. Kneel, he ordered, and the entire arena went silent, waiting. For the first time in her life, Lady Zyra felt powerless. Slowly, her knees bent, the dust of the arena touching her jeweled robes. Her eyes burned with fury. But the law was clear. Her champion was dead, and she was now the human's concubine. The crowd erupted in shouts, half cheering the human, half cursing his name. But none could deny the power of the law. The human turned and walked away, as calm as when he had entered. Behind him, Lady Zyra and her maids followed, heads lowered, trapped by fate. In her palace chambers, Lady Zyra sat in silence. Her once golden throne felt cold, heavy with shame. She was known across the stars as a proud and untouchable noblewoman. Now, by law, she was nothing more than the possession of a human stranger. Her maids stood in the corners, whispering nervously. Some spoke of the human's terrifying power, others of his strange calmness. Lady Zyra clenched her fists. Her pride burned like fire. She wanted to hate him, but in her heart, a question gnawed at her. How could a mere human kill her champion so easily? No alien warrior had ever matched him, and yet the human had ended the fight in one strike. The memory replayed in her mind again and again. The sound of the blade, the look in his eyes, the silence that followed. The human walked through her halls without fear. He showed no greed, no hunger for gold or jewels. He spoke little, only giving short commands that her maids obeyed. Some of the maids began to admire him in secret, whispering that he was different from the cruel nobles they had served before. Others trembled, believing he was a demon in human flesh. But Lady Zyra stayed silent, her heart filled with conflict. She wanted revenge. She wanted to see him destroyed, yet a part of her wondered was this man not stronger, wiser, and colder than anyone she had ever met. The law had broken her pride. But something deeper was breaking inside her for the first time. She was not sure if she hated him or feared that she might one day respect him. The humans. Sakreth. Next days were strange in Lady Zyra's palace. The human walked through the grand halls as if they were his own. He spoke little, but every word he spoke carried weight. His presence was like a storm held in silence. The servants who once bowed to Lady Zyra now bowed to him. And though Lady Zyra's pride still burned, she could not change her fate. One night, as the suns dipped low in the sky in red, Lady Zyra finally asked him, "Who are you, human? What are you really?" The human looked at her with calm eyes. "I am no one special," he said. "Only a soldier of my people." But his voice carried stories behind it, stories of wars fought across the stars. He spoke of giant beasts that swallowed cities. He spoke of empires that fell to human strategy and iron will. He spoke of battles where humans fought not for riches, but for survival. The maids listened in silence, their fear turning into awe. Some whispered that no alien could have done what humans had done. Others felt their hearts stir with respect for the quiet warrior. Lady Zyra felt torn. Her pride wanted to spit in his face, but another part of her wanted to listen more. Every word of his made her feel smaller, not because he humiliated her, but because he revealed a universe bigger and darker than she had ever imagined. The human never bragged, never smiled. He simply told the truth, and the truth was heavier than any sword. Lady Zyra realized that he was not just a conqueror of her champion, he was a conqueror of fear itself. New shadows news of the arena spread across Valor Prime. The human's victory was rattled in every court, every market, every street. Nobles who once ignored Lady Zyra now whispered in corners about her, not because of her power, but because of the human who owned her by law. Some nobles feared him. Others hated him. Plans of revenge began to form. Dark and silent, Lady Zyra overheard these whispers in her palace. She realized the human was in danger. If he fell, she and her maids would be slaughtered as traitors. For the first time, her heart twisted in fear, not for herself, but for him. She tried to warn him. "The nobles will not rest. They plot against you," she said. But the human only looked at her with calm eyes. "I know," he answered. "Let them come." The maids grew restless. Some wanted to escape before war came to the palace. Others began to prepare themselves, quietly sharpening blades in loyalty to the human. Lady Zyra watched them and realized how much had changed. Her household once belonged only to her. Now, it belonged to him, not through cruelty, but through silent strength. Yet she also saw danger on the horizon. A name began to spread in whispers: Warlord Thark. Stronger, fiercer, more ruthless than her champion had ever been. The nobles called upon him to challenge the human. If the human lost, the law would strip him of everything, and Lady Zyra and her maids would be dragged to the warlord's chains. Her pride told her to hope for the human's fall, but her heart told her to pray for his survival. And for the first time, she found herself standing at his side. The turning point arena once again filled with thousands. This time, the crowd was louder, angrier, more desperate. They wanted blood. They wanted the human destroyed. At the center stood Warlord Thark, a giant even greater than the first champion. His armor was black steel, his axe as tall as 3 men. Every step he took made the ground quake. The crowd roared his name. Certain this time the human would die. The human walked in calmly, the same as before, his jacket plain, his steps light, his eyes sharp. Lady Zyra stood at the edge of the arena with her maids. Her heart pounded, her pride silent for the first time. She whispered to herself, "Human, don't die." The drums beat again, louder than before. Thark charged forward like a storm. His axe swung down with enough force to break a mountain. The ground split where it landed, dust rising like a wave. But the human was not there. He moved faster than the eyes of the crowd. In one motion, he stood behind the warlord. His blade dripping red, Thark fell to his knees. His eyes widened, disbelief. Then his body crashed into the dust. Silent forever, the arena went still. No one spoke. No one breathed. The human had done it again. Another impossible victory. Lady Zyra's legs shook as she watched. Her heart broke. But not from shame. It broke because she finally understood. This man was not just her conqueror. He was a storm, a weapon, a truth the galaxy could not deny. Her maids bowed to him, not in fear, but in respect, and Lady Zyra herself lowered her head, whispering words she never thought she would say. "My lord." The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in terror, but it did not matter, for in that moment, Lady Zyra knew her life no longer belonged to herself. It belonged to the human who had split her world in half, and though her pride still fought inside her, her heart had already chosen its master. The screen faded to black, leaving the final echo of drums.